At the actual debate. It is the 25th of October 2021. My name is Chola Chisha. Welcome to Blunt Talk, a special edition with regards to independence. Now, we did celebrate our 57 years of independence yesterday as Zambia on the 24th of October 2021. It's been 57 years, but the debate still continues if really Zambia is free, politically, socially, and economically. Today we discuss, or rather this evening, we discuss that particular aspect. 57 years of independence, is Zambia truly free? And to help me discuss this particular pertinent issue that, of course, borders on national interest, I do have Daniel Sichilongo, who is the Green Party Secretary General. Good evening.
Good evening, Shisha. Thank you for having me. Good evening, viewers.
All right. Good to have you as well. We also do have Tinashe Mazala, the NAREP National International Chairperson. Good evening.
Good evening, Chisha, and good evening, viewers.
All right. My third guest is Innocent Filamba Pengele, who is the good governance activist and expert. Good evening.
Good evening, revolutionary greetings to the viewers.
All right, so ladies and gentlemen, I have two basic rules on this particular show. You're all accorded 3 minutes each to answer the questions I do have for you. And if you have any counter reaction towards your panelist, you have to counter react within your allocated 3 minutes and not in your panelist 3 minutes. I hope that is very clear. All right, great. Let's begin and obviously dive right into it. Zambia celebrated 57 years of independence yesterday, the 24th of October 2021, under the theme Celebrating a New Dawn Anchored in Good Governance, National Unity and Development. In your own lens, how do you assimilate and perceive this particular theme? I'll start with you, Mr. Sichilongo, the Secretary General for the Green Party.
Of course, we have a new government in place, and the theme was entwined with the new government and what they are trying to do. Looking at the issues of unity, of course, when you are a liberated state, you would want to have a united front towards challenging the whole mass or economic basis of the country. So driving towards the issues of development in Zambia, I reckon this theme was trying to place them into the fore as a ruling government. So it has a tangible side of the UPND government in it. So yeah, in dissecting it, they are the primary issues of what liberation should be, and adding the spice of the new dawn, which to me spells out the plan of the UPND.
All right. Now, of course, do you believe really they have the light to really put across this particular theme? Already people are complaining that there's some promises that they haven't given to the many Zambians. With regards to national unity, really they're pictured to be the most most violent party per se in some sections of society and some political parties. Would you attest that they could uphold this particular theme as a new dawn?
Well, it's really up to them, and I wouldn't want to take away from their plan. But to be honest, when certain statements are made, you would tell from how you respond thereafter. And so far, I think, like you've said, there are a lot of teething problems. We have seen individuals who either are alleged to be UPND members and are marred in violent activities and so on and so forth. But also, we should move to interrogating the factors around why these things are happening as well, just to be fair to them.
Would you think they would uphold good governance when they're not upholding some of the manifestos, some of the manifesto promises?
Of course, to an extent, and this is why we have programs such as these for us to intersect, dissect, and to ensure that we bring out the ills and hopefully deal with them for good.
All right, thank you so much. Your 3 minutes is done. Tinashe Mazala, the NAREP International and National Chairperson. Zambia celebrated 57 years of independence yesterday under the theme celebrating a new dawn anchored on good governance, national unity and development. How do you perceive and assimilate this particular theme in your lens?
I think the first thing to note is we need more time. We need more time to correctly analyze and to see the plan of the new government unfold. But even as we're saying we need more time, I'm more interested in the definitions, because how are we first of all defining a new dawn? What is a new dawn? When we hear new dawn, we are inclined to think it's something positive. But are the people that are leading us thinking it's something positive? What do we assume a new dawn is as Zambian citizens? And then when they say anchored on good governance, I would like to see how it unfolds, because I think I like to judge political parties based on how they perform when they're in opposition. An analysis of our current government while they were in the opposition, we can see that there was not a lot of inclusivity in terms of women, in terms of young people, in terms of persons with disabilities. And we can see this, for example, in the numbers in parliament, the numbers in the councils and things like that. You can see the current cabinet does not have any young person. It has very few women. And that goes back to the pool of MPs that they had to draw from. What deliberate measures did they make at adoption stage to ensure we were going to have an inclusive cabinet and an inclusive parliament? So those type of things make me question. But then it doesn't mean that if they're getting a few things wrong, they will get everything wrong. So I would honestly like to see how they're going to proceed with defining and how they're going to proceed with carrying out this good governance, honestly.
All right. Do you believe they're competent to uphold good governance, national unity, and development?
Again, one of the things that I like about the new leadership is it's such a breath of fresh air to listen to a presidential address or to listen to an address by someone in government, and they're talking about the critical issues. I think the previous government set the bar really low for leadership, and the type of discussions that were being had in the public realm, that were being had on platforms such as this by the previous government. But again, I feel like it might be too soon to tell. Let's see what's going to happen at the end of the year. Let's see what they're going to do by next year. So I think I'm going to remain. I think I'm just observing. I'm observing as at now.
All right, thank you so much. Let's get to you, Mr. Innocent Filamba Pengele, good governance activist and expert. Your thoughts?
Thoughts about what, if you might?
All right, I'll repeat the question for you. Zambia celebrated 57 years of independence yesterday under the theme celebrating a new dawn anchored on good governance, national unity and development. Your thoughts and assimilation on this particular theme?
Well, my thoughts about the theme is right, but the question is it correct? This is not the first administration that we're having. From the time that Zambia got its independence, on Saturday, the 24th of October, 1964, we've had successive administration coming. Every other administration has come in with its own policies, has come in with its own, machinery to deal with these matters. The problems that Zambians have been facing from Independence Day, 1964, even from pre-colonial times, have never changed. They still border with the same issues: political problems, social problems, and economical problems. So to relate with this theme, the question I would love to be answered is it realistic? Yes, it is. Do we have the machinery to execute that? Yes, we do. Do we have the political will to ensure that good governance is attained, to ensure that national unity is attained, as well as economic growth is attained? That is yet another question that I'm yet to see. It could be too early to judge, but as a good governance activist, or indeed an advocate of proper governance, sensible governance, I do not think I have the time to wait. But so far I've seen pronouncements made either in terms of policy, law I'm yet to see, in terms of constitutional reforms. Because what we have to do is to get back to the backdrop. What is the background of the problems that we are facing as a country? Mostly it has to do with legal reforms. Legal reforms, we might get there. Do the legal reforms, but do we have the machinery to execute those legal reforms so that people begin to behave in a way that is acceptable and sustainable to promote growth economically? The theme is okay. The theme is right. As to whether it's correct, I don't know. I'm yet to see.
Well, the president made it clear that his tenure of office will be anchored on the rule of law. Do you believe, with the mismatch that has happened, having to appoint or rather make ministries without before passing it into parliament, and other issues that have been brought in by the opposition? Do you believe, the president is really upholding his word on the rule of law aspect? Looking at it that you talked about the legal framework.
Well, to answer your question,
Yeah.
it's not the first time that I'm seeing a new dawn. From the time I was born,
Yeah.
I had a new deal in 2001. That new deal was also anchored on the rule of law. When the new deal was anchored on the rule of law, I saw an anomaly in my infancy where we had a president whose trial undermined the judicial and territorial integrity of the land. The land, judicial and territorial integrity was undermined under the new deal. Okay? New deal. Rule of law. We had the president that was tried in London. Yet you have the high courts and the supreme courts of the highest jurisdiction to preside over how we conduct ourselves as citizens. That passed. We saw vilification. It was a new deal. What new deal means? Yes, it's a new deal, it's a new dawn. But we have to quantify what really is new deal. So to that effect, the president assumed office. He appointed ministers to non-existent ministries. As to whether that is presidential policy, I've never been president before. I don't know what happens at State House. So we must learn to separate the president from the presidency. So the question should be, is the president abiding by the tenets that rule the presidency? Does the president know what it takes to occupy office of the presidency? I think those are supposed to be the questions.
Do you believe he knows what it takes?
I believe he's learning. Whether he knows or not, I don't know. But I've seen him learn over time.
All right. Let's get to our second round of questions, and I would love to ask our technicians to have the time running on screen to guide us with the time aspect as we are answering these questions. Now, my second question to you, I will throw it back to you, Mr. Pengele. Now, 57 years, all right, politically, economically, socially, are we independent? And what signifies a country to be independent? Let's answer those questions within the 3 minutes that we've been given. Yeah.
Are we independent? Zambia got its political independence on the 24th of October 1964. But the social economic independence still anchors us back to the words of Kwame Nkrumah, who said that Africa shall never be free until it is able to make its economic decisions. It is able to superintend over economic decisions. I would answer your question with an example. To what wisdom is your independence if you are free, you are able to move from point A to point B, but within that movement you can't buy anything? Why? Because you don't have currency. That currency is caused by economic fundamentals that you can't meet. Firstly, let's say you don't have the privilege to attain either lower or higher education. Education is one thing, but to attain it at whatever stage, is that independence? No. Actually, I would refer you to what economists call the Gini coefficient. The Gini coefficient is an index that is used to measure the distribution of wealth among citizens in a particular territory. What that means, Zambia and Malawi, actually, the Gini coefficient, I stand to be corrected, is at 0.8 out of 1. I'll refer you to probability concepts. It means 80% of Zambians are in prison. What does that mean? 20% of Zambians are so rich that they can feed the 80%. The Gini coefficient interpreted. Do you know how much poverty that is? You would meet less of the international indices to contract debt from international corporations. But are the people eating? I want to ask you a question. Do you have a neighbor that at one time has missed a meal? The answer is automatically yes. What is causing that? That person is economically in prison. Can they air out their views? Yes. Will they be arrested? Yes and no. If they are arrested, will they afford the mandatory bail by law? No. Will they afford the admission of guilty fee, 54 kwacha? The answer is no. That is prison. They are not free. We need a lot of economic and social emancipation, away from people expressing themselves and meeting the necessary political fundamentals. People must indeed be free. It's not the ability to gather, that's not freedom, but the ability to command quality of life. Life is breathing in and breathing out. If I asked you where you would love to get your pizza, you mentioned debonaires. Why can't you get it from Kalingalinga market? Why can't you get it from Bauleni market? You want quality of life. Oh, that is a super, it's a philosophy. But why can't we have all attain? What does it draw us back to? It draws us back to the fundamentals of every function of government. Government's number one function, the Republic of Zambia, the government, the number one function is to create a regulatory framework for people to conduct business and citizens to conduct themselves. Second of which,
a ministry has been created. Do you think we're heading towards the right direction?
Well, that's a pronouncement. This is not the first time. It has been done, time immemorial. But what do we need? That ministry needs to have a structure where we have to bridge the gap between the rich and the poor. Do you know, I can easily define for you. The rich are the old people, the poor are the young people.
Yeah.
The poor are the young people. If that ministry is created, how is it in tandem with the Citizens Economic Empowerment Commission? It was also established to propel young people's development and citizens empowerment. How is it in tandem with the Zambia Development Agency Act, that ministry? How is it in tandem with Zambia Public Procurement Act, number 12 of 2008, that ministry? So certain fundamental questions must be answered.
All right, thank you so much. Your 3 minutes is done. Very profound. And I've seen you, Tinashe, are agreeing to some of the components that Mr. Pengele has mentioned. What's your view on this? Are we politically, economically, socially independent? And what signifies a country to be independent?
I would like to start by drawing your attention to certain things.
Yeah.
We have an election that just, we had an election in August, and great things came out of the elections. We saw for the first time young people come out in numbers to decide what their political fate was going to be. And they chose the current government. They chose the current government in large numbers. And then on a social aspect, we've seen Zambia for the first time being put on the world stage. Not for the first time, but for the first time in a long time being put on the world stage in a positive way. We saw Esther Chungu, for example, participate at a Global Citizens Festival, which made all of us proud.
Yeah.
We've seen people like Pat Sondaka do us proud. He recently won UEFA Player of the Week. On an economic level, there is some sort of hope in terms of us getting out of our debt crisis. However, when we speak about, is Zambia free? No. Politically, like Pengele mentioned, and I will just paraphrase, our constitution is a coloring book. With each and every regime that comes in, they come and put things which are going to be for their benefit. We do not have a constitution that is going to stand the test of time. Each and every regime comes and changes whatever it is that they want to do. On another aspect, we do not have the right amount of representation of women, of young people, of persons living with disabilities, the marginalized group. So if everyone is not at the table, how can we say that as a nation we are truly free? That's ridiculous. On a social aspect, we still have people who are being marginalized on account of their tribe, on account of the gender they were born, on account of so many things. We're in a social mess. Look at our social services system. Are we really free socially? Then on an economic aspect, we are still in debt. We're in huge amounts of debt. And it's likely that the only way that is going to get us out of this debt is more debt. How can we say we are free if we cannot even finance our own life? I saw recently the president said that he had secured something like, is it 18.5 million from USAID? Okay, wonderful. But is USAID Father Christmas? Why are they giving us that money? What do they expect to get in return? We cannot be said to be free if our education system is, for majority, the most part of it, funded by people outside of this country. Our agriculture sector, our health sector. What happens when these people, like during the COVID crisis, when they decide, no, wait, we have to focus on the people in our country more than we have to focus on you? We're shattered. And at the end of the day, it's the person that pays the bill decides your fate. Can we say we are free? Then let's look at neocolonialism. There's so many that, we've all heard of the invisible hand. There are certain decisions that happen outside of this country that impact people. Pengele made mention of something. When you choose to have your pizza, the first place you think of is Debonair's, Panarottis. Why? Those are South African brands. Are we putting the right framework to ensure that our citizens are protected from undue competition? And number two, are also building world-class quality brands. Is Zambia really for Zambians currently? No, it's not. And until Zambia is for Zambians, we cannot say that we are free. Until Zambians are truly making their decisions, we cannot say we are free. Let's go back to politically. What type of political system do we have?
Be quick on that one. Yeah.
We have a first past the post system. What does this do? First of all, you have a huge number of people who voted for someone else and they're unhappy because they're not being governed by someone they chose. Something else that it does, it promotes regionalism and tribalism. How can you be said to have freedom if we're not even developing on a political front? It's time for us to analyze our political system and our governance system and have reforms. So it makes me question, like going back to your first question, can we really have good governance when we don't even have the right good governance system?
All right. Let's write to you, Mr. Stilongo, the Green Party Secretary General. Same question with you. Are we socially, economically, politically independent? And also, as you answer that question, what signifies a country to be independent? Your 3 minutes starts now.
Well, first of all, Chisha, it hurts me when I hear my brother Pengele speaking about the Gini coefficient. Numbers don't lie. And the majority of Zambians who came out to vote in August are in that bracket of the 80%. So, in short, 80% of Zambian people after 57 years are living in poverty. Should that make you smile as an individual? Of course not. So, what we should be interrogating when we are speaking of political independence or freedom is whether our civil and political rights have delivered a system that will deliver for the people. And for me, I will tell you no. Because even when it comes to the legislature today, you have 5 members of parliament who are youths, none who are in cabinet, that's the executive function, and a judiciary that's not independent. Okay? The political system must be used to champion development. What kind of development do the people of Zambia have today? There is a notion that power is nothing without control. Who is controlling Zambia today? Is it that because we are writing colorful headlines in newspapers that we are free actually? I think not. Because the majority of Zambians today are these young people that today you are calling disgruntled. The same young people who can't earn a living. The same young people who you are saying are still living under people's roofs, under households, failing to even manage the basics, which is accommodation, shelter, food. Then there is something really wrong. I believe that in the Americas, when Martin Luther King said he had a dream, that dream was an expansive one. Equally, our forefathers had a dream. I didn't think the dream was to keep us in shackles of economic slavery at all. Is the Zambian economy inclusive to every person in Zambia? It's not. And this is why you find the majority of malls and shopping centers are foreign owned. Who is protecting the Zambians? Who is incentivizing the Zambians to have that economic freedom and independence? I'll leave that as a question. Socially, of course, for me, it has been proven time and again that an average Zambian will be jailed because of something small, because they have got no access to resource. And the wealthy and rich, that 20% Pengele was talking about, though I can even narrow it to 11%, are the ones that are seemingly getting justice. Should justice be sold? for it to represent a Zambia? I think not. But again, time and again, as we interrogate this issue, we must focus on what this sovereign nation was to deliver. And believe me, an angry man is possibly a hungry man. So the hunger that we are seeing today, of course there are those who are eating Cocoa Pops and cornflakes somewhere because someone did a deed. Those who tell you, hey, I live in a comfortable Zambia. I've been to areas in Zambia where it gives you less of pride to say, hey, I'm a Zambian and I'm proud, because you have seen someone suffering.
Right.
In
Quickly wind
poverty.
up. Yeah.
Yes. So to answer your question, there are a lot of no's than yeses, but I should tell you that Zambia today has strong men and weak institutions. Weak institutions can never deliver economic inclusion. It is impossible. And it has proven from the numbers that we have, even in Parliament today.
All right. You've all mentioned about foreign-owned institutions, all right, and which falls under the aspect of globalization. Now, how do we balance globalization and having an independent country for political and economic growth? I'll throw it back to you, Mr. Daniel Sichilongo. You can briefly give us your explanation in 3 minutes. How do you balance globalization and an independent country for political and economic growth?
Interestingly, Chisha, it should come back to one thing: the local benefit. We are not saying you can't come from outside there to enjoy the fruits. Zambia is fully endowed with so many resources. Not this fiat currency, this paper that people are coming with, and they are cheating you to say, we are actually here for you. We are here to give you jobs. No, they are here to give themselves jobs. So how is it that we can turn a leaf and to understand that by incentivizing the locals, we are not pushing out the global community? No, all we are asking for is, can above 50% be actually for the locals? Can we see the locals participating in this construction industry, constructing these malls, having these shops? Can that money register locally? Do you know that of the 18 commercial banks that you have today, possibly you'd mention maybe 3 have Zambian share or can be called fully Zambian? That should tell you something. So what is that about independence of economy? And do you know that he who pays the piper really commands the tune? So whose tune are we dancing to? Definitely not the Zambian tune. And what we are saying is, in balancing this globalization, we should be able to protect our own. Because those that braved the code, 0403...
How do we protect our own, Mr. Daniel? How do we indeed protect, the Zambian local market from this particular powerful market that's international?
I'm happy that you asked that question. We have an environment that should curate laws. We have a parliament that should be making laws that benefit the people. Nothing else. We can go down to our neighbors in Botswana. There is a law that actually limits the participation of specific businesses only for the locals. And it's a sovereign country. You can do that. Block making today in Zambia is annexed and controlled by foreigners, meaning the profits from simple block making go outside immediately. Is that something we can be proud of? No. We can limit certain things even by extending that CEEC Act, by putting reserved businesses that should just be for locals, and by enforcing to ensure that these locals are able to handle that business. We shouldn't end there. We should be able to incentivize and build capacity in our locals. Those jobs you are asking for are hiding in these things, including the retirement age. How do you expect a young man, Pengele, who is a recent graduate of whether a college, university, or a trades unit, to thrive when they are being asked for 3 years, 5 years of experience? Was it supposed to fall from on high? No. The people that are in the civil service today that are above 55, they started in the civil service without experience. I can tell you that. Most of these civil service jobs. So what we are asking for really is, if you could amend that NAPSA Act today and reduce the retirement age to 55, that 10 years of space, those 55 to 65, if they move away, they would have created space for middle management to move up, and space for the young Zambians who've been asking for opportunities to start. But also on the economic side, that SME ministry should mean more than a pronouncement. They should be looking at these reserved business acts. They should be looking at so many other things to balance that globalization. And I can assure you there's enough to go around in Zambia for the locals and for the foreigners. Fact.
All right. Thank you so much. How do we balance globalization and independence, rather, or being an independent country for political and economic growth? Mr. Pengele?
Well, it goes back to my earlier assertion. The question should be, how do we balance economic growth or socio-economic growth? I'll refer you to what is called the triple bottom line, which is a necessary index for man to survive. You need to survive economically, you need to survive socially, how you are building your networks to get you from point A to point B. You need to protect the environment. So in leadership and governance, for you to balance the three, what you need is the people to agree with you. Now that is called politics. And you, the media, must help us by asking the right questions so that you have the right answers. As a country, we focus so much on politics. What does that make us? We are strong on weak issues and weak on strong issues. It's politics, rhetoric, politics, rhetoric, 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 politics. That nonsense must come to an end, especially that we are in the new dawn government. What is globalization? Global village. What is happening in Zambia must happen in Tanzania. What is happening in Tanzania must happen in France. The question is what is happening in Zambia happening in France? Yes, because people are living and breathing. Are they surviving every day? No. In Zambia, people are dying out of hunger. In Zambia, people can't afford primary education. So to balance into the equation of globalization, what we need is necessary policies and laws to have a political will to move the agenda. For example, we have the national youth policy. We've had many other policies that will empower either young people or citizens. But do we have deliberate leaders to move such agendas that are honest? Leaders that have undergone corrupt socio-moral to save the people. Is the leadership in Zambia anchored on servitude? No. Leadership in Zambia is a job. We've had 7 job seekers that the country has had from independence. The first job seeker was President Kenneth Kaunda, may he rest in peace. Second job seeker, may he rest in peace, President Chiluba. Third job seeker, President Mwanawasa. Fourth job seeker, President Rupia Banda. Fifth job seeker, President Sata, may he rest in peace. Sixth job seeker, the former president, may he rest in peace. The seventh job seeker is serving currently.
Well,
It's a job, but servitude, people should save.
The former president is still alive.
He's still alive, yes. Or did I refer to him as rest in peace?
Yes.
I withdraw. Because I was programmed by many late presidents. Apparently, if they were alive, we would have asked them the necessary questions.
Yeah,
but we have no control over that.
Yeah.
So we just need political will. Political will. People have to be honest. We need honest leadership. Apparently, as a country, we are suffering from a disease that Professor Patrick Lokotchena refers to as corrupt socio-moral. We don't know ourselves. We don't know where we are and where we are going. We've not started off.
Well,
we end up in a situation we have emojis
Mr.
as leaders, and as a country we are a meme. We are not serious about anything.
Yeah,
that's why we're here to discuss.
Mr.
I bet next year we'll be here to discuss the same thing.
Mr. Pengele,
this is disturbing.
Well, I wouldn't agree that every president that obviously won the hearts of the Zambian people was just looking for jobs and not really, having the heart to govern the country, having the heart to really fight for the Zambian people. Are you telling me that all these that have come through were just merely looking for jobs?
Because if you are looking for a job, you try as much as possible to edit your CV, your curriculum vitae. So they will tell you everything, and they have to be as hearty and as emotional as possible. They will come with lies. But the question is that, which people are they lying to? We've got one index that we're not doing well on. Majority of Zambians are not educated. We are suffering poorly on the academic index. Actually, if we look at the global average of education, the entire country, Zambia, is in grade 3. What do we need to do? We have to send people to school. We have to build schools. We have to send people to teaching schools to come and teach these people. So that firstly, before people know their rights, before they come and discuss this topic, they must be politically enlightened. When they go to vote, they must know who is a leader and who's an idiot. We are living in a country where people have to go to vote for somebody because they've given them a t-shirt. Does that make sense to you, news anchor or moderator? Somebody gives you a chitego, you go and vote. You can't question their policy on environment,
I would love
on the economy.
to disagree, Mr. Pengede.
You must disagree. Those are facts.
Most youths voted for change. Most youths voted because
did they define the change? Ask the necessary questions, my dear brother. Did they define change? Change is anything. I can change here. I just changed. I had a jacket. It's change. Is it necessary?
Well, you felt
to make
hot.
man life to survive?
Wasn't that necessary? You felt hot, didn't you?
I felt hot. I changed. Has it helped me? Is this public decorum? Is it commanding that I should do this? So change is, and we'll keep changing, I'm telling you, until you and I lie in that cube of the mortuary. We'll keep changing, but we must question and define the change. That's when we have the right change. Our leaders must change.
All right, so
past or present, they must change. Young people are suffering.
A lot of youths. I'm triggered to now ask more questions on it.
Please ask. I'm here.
Yeah,
you called me here.
A lot of youths are really defensive to say the president is actually a millionaire. He's got quite a lot of jobs and businesses to run, and this is just something that he wants to do for the heart of the people. Would you agree to that?
I don't agree. The president does not exist in isolation. Just like everyone, you and I. When you are born, are you aware, at least I've experienced childbirth in my side. Everybody's born naked. Nobody's born with money or anything. It's the successive policies that have them accumulate wealth. If you mean well for the people, like every other leader that we've had, what policies, what legal framework are you putting in place so the people are empowered? Become like you. That's the question.
Yeah, thank you so much. I'll get back to you, Mr. Pengele. I have so many questions.
I wish to have you back to
yeah, definitely. Let's get to the lady in the house, Ms. Tinashe Mazala. Your thoughts on this? How do we balance globalization and, of course, being independent as a country with fostering economic and political growth?
I think the two speakers said this very well. It starts with policy and law, honestly speaking. Our policies are lacking. So Daniel spoke about retirement, for example, and how if we just change the retirement age, it frees up jobs. But because of other policy gaps, that won't be the only solution, because the government then has to find money to pay the retirees. So they're in a conundrum. So because they have mismatched policy and a lack of planning, they can't do that. Let's look at something that was also brought up in this discussion, the playing field for Zambians versus other people. Zambia, for example, if we are going to borrow from the FIC report, is a haven for money laundering. If you just look at some of the disgusting pronouncements from the FIC report, you see so much money being laundered out of this country. How are they making it? How is it coming here? Where is it going? When people come here and invest, they come, take the money, make money here, take it outside. That money is not being spent here. So what money is actually in circulation? Money is being taken to other places to develop them. Policy issues. Another thing is our laws, like I said. We have very weak laws. So if we're going to backtrack, since we're looking at independence, let's backtrack and let's go to neoliberal principles, which brought us to a point where we privatized Zambia and, so many things were opened up. And that's a backdrop of globalization, because at the end of the day, they had us as Zambia, that was a country that was colonized for years, competing at the same level with how is a business which I started 2 years going to compete at the same level with Johnson & Johnson, which has been in existence for God knows how long. And how does that make sense? And we say, no, it's globalization. But we need our people here to come up with the right policies to ensure that we are protected from undue competition. Another point is, it's a personal annoyance. I hate how every new regime comes with their own plan. This regime was building roads, they left. This one is doing what, they leave. The time has come, and us as young people need to be at the forefront of this. We need a 50-year policy in this country. Where are we going? How are we going to contribute, or how are we going to compete in this global village? Okay, it's copper. If we're going to say we're going to make batteries for electric cars, what are we doing? What is going to be our niche, and what are we going to stick to the next 50 years? One of the people that is giving us a lot of money, for example, China, is a success story of this. They decided where they were going, and they stuck to that for decades. Now, with this political system that we have, where every single time you throw away the baby with the bathwater, we're never going to develop. We need to change those type of policies and the way that we look at things. The second thing that I think we need to address is we need capacity building, and quite frankly, we need to grow up as a country, because I feel like we're always complaining. Okay, we've had instances where, yes, I hate that a lot of the time foreign people are coming and taking our jobs and things like that. But what happens sometimes when Zambians get these jobs? You find he gets his money, he's moved to South Africa, or he doesn't deliver. We need to change the narrative. If we want, and we should be given these jobs, we should be given these opportunities, but we should also be doing them on a quality level. There's no way we can just be asking for things and not actually delivering to an extent that exceeds these foreign people. Because it's just a question of mediocrity and us having decided that we're just going to play around.
All right, thank you so much. Before we allow callers to come in, let me ask my last set of questions, and then the other minutes will be for us to answer the calls and of course the questions and comments are coming through. Remember that you'll be coming through to give us your question to us, a panelist, on 0764250055. Now back to you, Tinashe. 57 years of independence, and of course celebrations are done, topics have been discussed such as this. What is the next way forward?
I love that question, because I think I'm personally tired of analyzing what the problem is. I feel like we've analyzed and we've discussed and we've spoken about this. I think the first thing is collaboration. I think it is going to be difficult for us to progress as a nation for as long as we are divided. We are divided across tribal lines, we're divided across gender issues, we're divided across nonsense, honestly speaking. We need to come, we're not working together because the person who we're supposed to be working with, we're viewing them as an enemy when they're supposed to be our ally. So we need to have deliberate measures where we come together and we collaborate and we work together. We need to support Zambian businesses. We're talking about growing our economy and all of these things. Like he said, before I go and buy from Kalingalinga market, I'm going to Debonair's. Where is that money going? It's going back to South Africa. And yes, I'm entitled to choosing what I want, and yes, I'm entitled to choosing a quality product. But how serious are we about developing our country? Are we so serious about developing it to the extent that we'll give Zambians money at any cost? The second thing is capacity building. Like I was saying, we're playing games in this country, we're being mediocre. That needs to change. That also is paired with a good education system. It's not just about building schools, ensuring we have enough teachers. What quality and standard of education are these people getting? Honestly, our education system needs reforms across the board, because honestly speaking, the common trend is someone fails their grade 12, they rewrite, and they have subpar results, then they go and become a teacher. Really? What are we realistically passing on to the next generation? We have circumstances where our teachers are unpaid for months. Really? Yet ministers are there in VXs. That's ridiculous. And if it's something that I would like to see in the new dawn, is education reforms. We would like to get to a point where these people that are in high governmental positions are able to take their children to government schools because they know that they're providing quality education for these people.
All right. Now, how easy these things that you've mentioned attainable?
How easy are they? I don't think anything. I think how easy is the wrong question. I think it should be more about where do we start? How do we begin? Because we shouldn't be looking at something that is easy. Anything that is worthwhile is not going to be easy, Chisha.
Yeah, because I'm saying this because it's been 57 years, and we keep on, talking about how much we are so not independent, and cling to this particular international.
Serious.
Yeah, and dependency, but. This like how can we easily get to that particular stage of where we say All right, we are free now. All right, we can live on our own means as Zambia. We can be able to decide on what we want and not have a second hand behind us to really influence our decisions.
Chisha, if we wanted to transform this country, we could do it overnight. We actually would. If we as Zambians just had a family meeting one day and decided we are going to change things, we would do it. Because first of all, your mentality has changed. Number two, some of the problems come from our civil service. In the last regime, we kept on blaming the president for certain things that were not even his fault. He had his wrongs, yes. But even there's corruption going on right within the civil service. That has nothing to do with the leaders at the top. Another thing is also us, like people in the business sector. We need reforms. Like if everyone decided to pitch in and do what they're supposed to be doing, even just had a change in attitude, we would change this country overnight.
Thank you so much. Mr. Daniel Sichilongo, the Green Party SG. Of course, we're discussing this topic. After 21 will be done. Celebrations were done yesterday. What's next after we discuss this particular pertinent issue?
Well, we must have an honesty, first of all, as the people of Zambia. When we are discussing matters of development, they should be sustainable matters. These weak conversations that we are pushing in spaces for young people to dangle as carrots should stop. We need to realize the potential that is in these young people, the majority. And let me define youth as the 15 to 35 under the African Youth Charter. Not this youth that you are claiming when we are saying, oh, cabinet has a youth. Does not. So let's say 35 and below, that population of 18 million Zambians, 72% of that is below 35. It should worry you that this majority is not represented. There is nothing for you without you. It is a fact. But we keep on dangling notions. We keep on with the rhetoric, with the nice statements, leaving no one behind. New dawn this, new government, new deal, this, that. Is it delivering? And I'll say no again. 57 years after independence, we should be interrogating why we still have strong men and weak institutions. Why should the DEC and an ACC mimic an individual? And you say we are free? We have independent institutions? Really? I don't think so. Our judiciary, even when we put it in plain cloth, whether the appointments or no, you will find that there is a way that they will probably do things. And again, I will state that the average Zambian for me is the real Zambian. And if they cannot afford justice, then the Zambia is damned. Let me go to the Bible, since Zambia is a Christian nation. In the book of Joshua, after Moses has wallowed in the wilderness for 40 years and dies, a Joshua generation comes. And immediately they cross out of the wilderness. This is a clarion call to young people of Zambia, that now is the time. When we are pondering 57, let's not ponder numbers. Dancing and celebrating the liberation is a good thing. But chanting the way forward towards what economic liberation and sustainability should be is more important. So we must get up and demand, because these demands are for every Zambian. That blood, that red color on the flag, that blood that was shed was for a reason. Let us not be pondering today as if it was for no reason, while we are still wallowing in poverty. While the young people, because of such push factors, are drawn to brutal vices, drinking habits, abusing drugs, sex, you mentioned it. I saw a very disturbing report just last week about Eastern Province. These early pregnancies, these teenage pregnancies, have push factors. These people have nothing to do. It's either you don't have a job, there's no recreation, or no one just doesn't give that much of a damn, because we are more prone to giving handouts so that someone comes back and begs. The time of manna falling from heaven has gone. Now we need to work. But we can only work if an environment is created. And this is why those demands that we showed in form of a vote can be done each and every day. So that those people that are in cabinet positions sitting comfortably, those seats must be hot each and every day. It doesn't matter if you are a youth from UPND, you are an activist like Pengele, or you are a youth from NAREP like Tinashe, or you belong to the PF. Doesn't matter. But I can tell you one truth, is that the young people of Zambia seek solace in these political systems just for expedience at most, because it does not deliver. We are created into choirs and panga wielders. By the way, that is something that we do not condone as Greens, but this is something that is happening, and we should not ignore the fact that we still have a Public Order Act from 1955, a colonial document, the slave master's document, and we have house niggers.
All right. Now, how do you define independence as the Greens, but also knowing for the fact that you're also a youth, and one who interacts with the youth mostly? How do you define independence as a youth and also as the Greens?
Well, the freedom from any power, and I should say that as a youth, the power that is oppressing us at most is poverty. So that economic factor is something that has weighed heavily on the youth, and we are screaming help, yet people are coming with carrots to dangle to say, no, we'll give you jobs, we'll do this, we'll do that.
Right.
And yet when the power comes, we say we need time, or this must be done, or didn't you know that the economy is ailing? Of course we knew. This is why we are not where we are supposed to be.
Yeah.
There are countries like South Korea, Singapore, or even China, that at a certain point were probably even worse off than Zambia was at liberation.
Thank you so much. All right, let's get to you, Mr. Pengele. Well, same question with you. 50 years, 57 years rather, of independence. Celebrations were done yesterday. Topics like this have been discussed. What is next for Mother Zambia?
Well, what is next is quite difficult to tell, but I might predict. Before I predict, I want to make a categorical statement. And I wish our past successive presidents that have departed and are with the Lord were alive, because they would have answered the question as a committee of presidents. And I want to speak to them that Zambia does not belong to you. You don't weave the fabric of Zambia. Be it your name is Edgar Chagwa Lungu or your name is Hakainde Hichilema, you don't weave the fabric of Zambia. Zambia chitenge chikalamba, and every president just a thread within it. Kakoton kalya. So when you are given the power of presidency, you firstly need to take a deeper sense of introspection. What really matters for one to live as a human being within a territory called Zambia? What really should be done for people to survive? And every question that you ask yourself in your deeper sense of introspection must be devoid of politics, must be devoid of color, must be devoid of religion. Tackle leadership with the utmost seriousness that it requires. Then we will not have cadres, we will not have a commando, we will not have, name them, we will live in a just society. Why we have president after president, it's a build-up to a just society. We might not expect perfection today. Even the Republic of Greenland, that has no police service because citizens behave themselves, has its own imperfections. But the question still comes, do we have the necessary regulatory framework? Do we have the necessary laws to push citizens to behave in a particular matter? Yes. If the laws are there, is there a political will? Are there deliberate pronouncements from the highest level of presidency to the lowest level of councillor? That question could be a yes and no, depending on which Zambian you ask. We need to sanitize the political environment. We need decency in the political environment.
How do we sanitize the political?
If we sanitize the political environment, I answered, we need laws. We need to live by laws indeed. Your irresponsibility must not become my responsibility. As a citizen, we must define that. And we need the right leadership to enforce that. Many young Zambians, most of which are jobless, have changed governments from 1991 to date. most of which have never seen a teacher or a lecturer, have changed governments. The question is, what is in for them? Do they place the right demands on the leadership? No, they don't. Why? Because perhaps they don't know what to expect of leadership. Others will place alcohol. A political leader will go in a ward, buy them alcohol. For them, that's enough campaign material. That nonsense must come to an end. When Mr. Pera mukachula pakamanalaisa kese. To be serious, even when we are criticizing the leadership, we must criticize the leadership on matters of principle. Are they economical? Are they legal? Are they socio-economical or environmental issues? We must take time, I would say, to read. There are many translations of anything that matters. At least, as a country, we must be serious. That's my only noble call. I don't even know what I'll see when I leave this studio. I don't even know what will happen tomorrow. And you, the media, as a fourth estate, you owe yourselves a responsibility. We see my press briefings, leaders addressing you. The questions that you ask, really, let's introspect. Are they questions of principle? It's like, rhetoric. We need to move as a country. We are way too behind. Just look at ourselves. You've had the exposure of traveling. When you reach Simple or Aratambo, before the ANC had power, political power, they used to come here. We were housing them.
Yeah.
But when you reach Oratambo, does that make sense? We need to grow up as a country. We should move from nursery school and begin to think for survival.
All right.
And the responsibility is both of the citizens and the leadership. But however, we have confidence with the pronouncements that have been made by the incumbent president. He seems to be a no-nonsense person. My prayer is that continues, because that will sanitize the political and economic land space.
He's not just looking for a job.
He is a job seeker. He's not in the job, but he has to work.
Oh, in your own words, anyway. Might be
And I will not reverse.
Might be quoted wrongly. All right, thank you so much. Let me open the phone lines now, so we can get questions from the people who are watching. And of course, I do know for a fact that my director, Mr. Trobish, has given us 10 extra minutes. Call on the number, not the one that is showing on the screen, but you can call on the number 0976 050 051. 0976 050 051. That is a number that you're calling on to ask a question on the panelists. For the panelists that we do have this particular evening, we have Mr. Daniel Chilongo, the Green Party SG. We have Tinashe Mazala, the NAREP International and National Chairperson, Relations Chairperson rather, and also Mr. Innocent Filamba Pengele, good governance activist and expert. 097 rather 6050 051 0976 050 051. You're not calling on the usual number that we do have as Muvi TV, but you're calling on that number that I've mentioned just for tonight and not every single day. All right, I lost that call. Please call me back. 0976 050 051 0976 050 051. Let's pick up this call. Hello, good evening.
Hello, good evening, sir.
Yes, good evening. What's your name and where are you calling from?
Is it Muvi TV?
Yes, it is Movie TV. You're through to Blunt Talk. What's your name and where are you calling from?
This is Pastor Maparo Kaoma.
All right, please give us your question to the panelist.
Pastor Kaoma.
Yes, please go on. Please go on.
I'm very happy for what Mr. Pengere is saying. That man is going to be our future leader, I'm telling you. The man is speaking with boldness and is lifting the truth without fear or favor. It's true, some of our leaders, they are job seekers. We are sick and tired to these politicians, they are just praying our mind, and they are using strategy. Buy that more money in your pocket, buy free education, Mr. Pengere, God bless you. I see wisdom in you. Continue speaking on the behalf of youth. God bless you.
All right, thank you so much. We appreciate your call. 2 more calls and we are done for tonight. The number is 0976 050 I must emphasize that that number is only being used today. Not after the show, not next week, just for today. Hello, good evening.
Yeah,
Bueno kaya imwe.
No, Chiami Kamurongwati Tunga Mkamba na judgment deka mayo tumbeko kuno kwa kanyama murusaka.
All right. Please, the person kwani contribution ya no question.
Contribution yanga ni yakuti civil ma politician wa mene tiene kera kuona kutini wapoza. Mkalangana ba Kenneth Kauta, mkalangana ba Mwanawasa, mkalangana na ba President Ita Inde Ichirema. Muzanta compare kutisi wonse ma politician ba mesiza kamba kutini wakabwara la kapena ni wapoza. So kile ni chitenge mitima ya tukiike mumanja. Kapena chikambe kuti kiike pansi, kapena chazona ni chakukisivu ma politician ba mesiza kamba kutini wakabwara. Kati imwe mayundi nyamukane muhimirire pali chazona. Ngati politician anigulira mo bakambani kutiwe ndiwe chakorwa.
All right.
Ngati politician anipasa ndrama za kumba kambani kutiwe ndiwe kapwarara.
All right. Ziko mokwambi.
Ngasinga kambani kutiwe ndiwe criminal.
All right. Ziko mokwambiri na yami kila nditu.
Kiame kapine temperera ime na journalist kuti ino government amene yene kera kumipata mpango zanu za kuti musevenze through ya amene mukamba information bill.
Access to information bill. All right. Thank you so much. We pick up our last call, then we respond to those questions. Hello, good evening. All right, please, when you call in, ensure that you turn down the volume on your TV set. We get terrible feedback. One last call, then we get down to the responses. And, of course, we forge ahead with our discussion. But please remember that number is only being used today, not any other day. Hello, good evening.
Good evening. This Muvi TV.
Yes, it is. You're through to Blunt Talk.
My name is Kelly Nayoto, calling in from Bongo.
All right, please be precise with your question or comment.
It's just a comment. I'm just happy with the whole panel, more especially the man with the jacket.
Well, we have 2 men with jackets.
No, the man on the panel. I'm just happy with his knowledge. Let's hope he's not going to be engulfed by poverty.
Well,
Such good people,
yeah.
with such good talks. You know, most of the time, the person can be given money and all that good thoughts can be taken away from us. Now, my appealing to him and all the people that are there is to keep on with that spirit of the heart of the people they have.
All right.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Well, before you go, which man? Because there are 2 men with jackets in the studio.
There's that man who took off the jacket and the
Oh, okay. All right. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
All right. Well, that is all for the callers. I have to definitely turn down the call line. But please remember that number was just being used today on the 25th of October 2021 on Blunt Talk. We'll get back to our usual number next week. But of course, your reaction quickly, my panelists and guests, to the 3 submissions that have come through so far. I'll start with the man in the jacket will be the last one. Mr. Daniel Sichilongo, your reaction to those 3 comments in a minute.
Well, amen to the first and the second comment, because they are going to a young man that I hold in high regard. In fact, this is a high-power delegation, if I was to tell you so. It's just that these platforms are rarely extended to us young people. Katuishinga ba teenage, but yes, we are definitely going to get there one day. To Mr. Stumbeko in Kanyama. Stumbeko, please nga kulinkani za democracy tipunzire kuchita separate muntu na issue. This is why tivutika kuipa, because tikangiwo chosamfeshia muntu pa issue. Nzala ni nzala kukanyama, nzala ni nzala mmongu, nzala ni nzala kukafyui, kuli konse ni nzala. Nzala nga sichoka manyumba, ma solution tilibe. If 57 years yet kamba, we have exercised patience for too long. And that's why I said, as a Joshua generation, this is a clarion call. Tinyamuke, bayuthi, mushibuke, where you are there sitting comfortably. Our children will ask us the question, what was going on in this country you call Zambia, if we are unable to provide for ourselves, and sustainably so. So we must care for our environment, our social and our economic sector to ensure that those in the future, even those that are not born today, can enjoy the Zambia. A better one than we found.
Thank you so much. Ms. Tinashe Mazala, your quick reactions to those three calls.
Thank you to the viewers for calling in. What they said, Pengele really is a powerhouse. And we really do hope that the youth such as him and us will not be corrupted easily. But just to reiterate what Daniel said in a different way, we need to get to a point where we have strong institutions. The problem with the dynamic that we have in Zambia is we are left on the goodwill and the mercy of a leader. So when we have a good leader, then good things happen. And when the leader is bad, then bad things happen. So we as the citizens now need to demand that we have strong institutions, and it doesn't matter what type of leader we have. Well, of course, we would like to have a good leader, but in the instance that we do not. And this is why we need to offer checks and balances. The New Dawn government and President Hakainde Hichilema will be as good as we, the citizens, and we, the checks and balances, allow him to be. We've seen things, for example, like him moving DEC and anti-corruption to State House. Okay, maybe it's a necessity for now, but what happens in the instance that we have a corrupt leader in State House? Who then is providing checks and balances? Institutions like that need to be independent. Another thing that I liked about one of the callers was the Freedom of Information Bill. Yeah. That is a bill we now need to see enacted into law, because it will then give us the citizens, the right to go to government offices and demand for information, because we then have the access to information. The third thing about holding leaders accountable is, let us take it a step further and not just hold the Zambian leaders accountable, but leaders at a multilateral level. Are we holding leaders at the UN accountable? Because when we talk about independence, who is responsible for that?
All right. Thank you so much. Because of time, the 10 minutes that were given has elapsed. Your quick remarks towards the three callers, Mr. Pengele.
The three callers that called are nationalists. The three callers that called in care about Zambia to the largest extent that they would pay attention to watch what is happening on TV and dissect and comment. To them I say thank you so much. And I would love, secondly, in conclusion, of course not on principle but indeed meaning my heart, to extend my congratulations and congratulatory messages to Mr. Chilongo Daniel. Apparently he's the youngest Secretary General of a political party in Africa. And also my dear sister here, Madam Tinashe Mazala, whose intelligence is unmatched and can't be questioned. And I feel privileged by Muvi TV to be invited here. But as I conclude,
please be quick. Time.
Young people must question their leaders. They must know that their leaders are not deputy God. After God is man in all its forms. Their leaders are not deputy Holy Spirit. If you see a minister doing nonsense, you meet in ShopRite, ask him, Honorable Minister, what is this happening at your ministry? They must answer you in public. A ministry or State House is not a cult. It's not a cult. We must hold our leaders, present or former, accountable for everything.
Thank you
Thank you for having us.
All right, great. Thank you so much for coming through, my panelists. Hope to have you very soon. Very insightful and very, very profound. All right, we did have, of course, a member from Green Party, a member from NAREP, and also a member who is a good governance activist and an expert. We're back next week, same time, same place. But do remember the number that I did mention. Now, Papa, I repeat it, is not a movie TV institution number. Do not call it. We're back next week.